Welcome to episode 2 of the Discomfort Podcast. Today I'm here with Johnny Hanscom. That's how I say it, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So what do you think sports has taught you about life?
Taught me. I think my biggest thing is being resilient under hard times. Especially injuries. It's so important. It's so easy to give up or just say it's not for you. But
Yeah.
If you find something that you're passionate about, just in general, stick with it. There's gonna be hard times. There's gonna be times that you want to quit. There's gonna be times where it seems you're just not meant for it.
Mm-hmm.
But especially with running. For me, I'm a bigger build for distance running.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've had so many people say just talk shit and just no, you're not made for this. Blah blah.
Well, I also just think it's because a lot of distance runners are just literally pencil thin.
Yeah.
So it's just it's interesting to see someone who's more built.
Yeah, no, and I kind of like being I don't know. My goal is to be a model for that, that you can, have fitness and weightlifting. You can have all those and still do something like distance running.
Because I feel a lot of runners shy away from lifting weights. I think that's kind of a shame.
Yeah, no, and I think lifting is one of the most important things because it's been huge for me. To stay out of injury.
Yeah, for real.
Because I had knee issues for the last year almost, and it's been really tough. But weightlifting and it's just been super, super key to getting me back to health.
For real. I'd say the same thing for me with soccer and shit. I always have little small injuries, but then I actually started lifting consistently, and I don't know, I just felt better, less injuries and shit.
Yeah.
So when you're saying when times are tough, how do people not give up? What did you do when times are tough to not quit and keep going?
It's trusting in the little things, going back to the basics. Everybody's always looking for this home run, grand slam, achievement, breakthrough, but sometimes when things aren't going well, it's just checking off some of the boxes that you used to build upon. For me, I had to set, when I got injured, that was my big setback. I had to, do my PT for a certain amount of time and then, stretch for a certain amount of time. And those were my, my breakthroughs and checking off those boxes. It's super important to give yourself the gratification no matter how small it is.
The little wins.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think sometimes when people are trying to achieve everything, they're looking for that really big goal, and sometimes they don't realize that the small victories is what adds up to that big goal.
Exactly.
And they're just looking for a quick fix or something to happen instantly. But
Yep. Yeah, no, delayed gratification, it's so tough for people nowadays, especially because everybody sees everyone just doing things instantly with online markets, Bitcoin. It's people got rich so fast, or even things TikTok and online platforms.
yeah. Well, honestly, I think also with social media, it's you don't get the context behind it. It's you see a little glimpse of someone's life, but you don't see that maybe they've been doing it for a couple of years or stuff like that.
Exactly.
I think another thing with the instant gratification is just so many people are addicted to their phones and social media now, and that is just instant gratification right there.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, no, I think one of my favorite quotes is "Don't wish for something that somebody has until you know what they did to get there."
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know how much they gave up to get somewhere. It's just seeing the little happy moments in their life, which everybody really does when they paint that picture on on social media or whatever. It really doesn't represent who they are and what they've gone through.
Yeah, I think we need maybe a new social media platform where it's just the shitty moments of people's lives.
Absolutely, yeah, no, totally agree.
Because right now it's just basically a highlight reel of everyone's life.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
But even then, it's will people be honest, with what they're going through? I mean, it's tough, to be vulnerable and to admit that you're in a low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially. So you were talking about resilience earlier, Is there a way that you've built resilience over time, or is it kind of just like situation by situation has built your resilience?
I think that it's just been a part of me. Them growing up, my dad always taught me, just work hard, and that's just been like a family thing that's been engraved in me. But I totally believe that there's a building and resilience and, consistency. Like, there is building to that, and there's building blocks and steps. And again, it starts with the small wins. Like, this is so important. Like, don't go for that grand slam that first time, Even if you show up to the gym for 5 minutes, showing up is what actually matters.
Yeah. I listen to this guy named Lewis Howes. He has a podcast called like The School of Greatness. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have not.
You should definitely listen to it. But like his whole thing is like, or part of it is like, master the art of showing up.
Yep.
So like you said, like it's also have you ever read a book called The Atomic Habits?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's all about like, do something for like 2 minutes, like every day.
Yep.
But just keep consistently showing up until it becomes a habit. And then you can expand it to 15, 30 minutes
Absolutely.
at the gym or wherever you are. I think that's all you need to really get started.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's just so many people want to show up for like 2 hours one day, but they can't show up the next day. And that's what I love about running is its consistency. It's not.
You have to be consistent, or else you'll get out of shape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so much consistency. It's not just showing up and rolling out of bed and running when you don't want to. It's stretching when you don't want to. It's waking up early when you don't want to, so you don't have to run on the heat. It's
Drinking enough water.
absolutely taking vitamin. There's just so much stuff, and that's what a lot of it is like you have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do to get delayed gratification. But from my experience, delayed gratification is better feeling than any, little moment that you can chase in 30 seconds.
Oh, for real. Yeah. And I think honestly, it's like when you just look for the instant gratification, it may feel good now, but I mean you're losing out on what it could be, and you're gonna end up regretting it later in life.
Exactly.
Which people don't always realize.
Yeah. And like there's, I love this quote. There's, I forget who said it, but there's like, people can spiral downwards, but you can also totally spiral upwards. Like it's 100% a thing, because when you have, it's hard to like build and get started with delayed gratification and like, achieving things over a long period of time. But once you start, and you continuously do it, even though you're working to build on gratifications that may happen in 2 or 3 months, you're still receiving some of the gratification that you worked on 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah. No, there's been studies done where along the way you get more dopamine from the process than actually like achieving the goal. So sometimes people just think about, I need to achieve this goal, but like, day 1 or day 12, like you're like, oh, this sucks, I don't want to do this anymore, and then they quit. But like, if you can learn to just like love the process for what it is, then that will motivate you to continue to show up for yourself.
Yeah, loving the process and being like passionate about it is so important.
Yeah. And I also think like, if you're trying to reach this one goal and you keep finding yourself quitting over and over again, like maybe that's not something that you should be doing, because you're not, passionate about it, or it's not something that you feel like you can do over time.
Absolutely. And I think one goal is something that people should never, hyper focus on. Like when I got injured again, this was something that I was, just hit with, as I just didn't know who I was myself, because I was so focused on running and I was so hyper focused on one thing. I needed to be more multifaceted. I needed to have more to me.
Yeah.
And knowing that one thing, if you fail, that it doesn't, you're not bound by that. That's not your identity.
Right.
Is so important.
Yeah, and I think it's something you do over time. It becomes part of your identity, and I mean, it seems like running was a big part of your life and still is, and that it takes up a lot of your time. So like that kind of becomes your identity. And when it's there, like it's good, you feel fulfilled or whatever. But when it's not there, then you kind of have to like reimagine yourself almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what college has been awesome for, you know, in my search for it. You know, I looked at who I was as a runner, and, you know, I'm very self-disciplined and type of person that's willing to go out of my way to do things that, you know, I don't need to do, but I needed to do. And that's why I wanted to become a businessman, was like, so many people can't run their own business because they don't have the self-discipline to do what they need to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when they don't really have to.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like that's my strong suit, and that's where I've, like, expanded myself. And, you know, just, I'm now more than just a runner, you know, I'm a businessman, you know, it's just so much more to it.
Cool. So do you have a business right now?
I do.
What are you doing?
I have a pressure washing business.
Oh, yeah.
I do houses, cars, and a bunch of other stuff. It was just kind of like my first way to branch off, because I had a lot of things. I had a truck and a pressure washer, so it wasn't too much of an investment for me. But it's been really cool, you know, getting to have some clients and getting to work on your own stuff, having your own quotes, you know, bidding and stuff like that. It's been really cool to learn about, but super excited to have the college education after this, to learn about, like, the legal aspects of it all, and, you know, learn about that.
Yeah, I think that's important. I have a landscaping business last couple of years. This year I haven't really run it because I've been in North Carolina. It's kind of hard to run it. So we're doing a little bit this summer, but I definitely agree with you, like, that being successful in business is a lot about, like, discipline and, like, everything just showing up. And I think, like, what we were saying earlier is, like, the gym translates to business, I would say, for sure.
Absolutely, 100%. I feel like that's why, you know, this era, I feel like there's so many more people hitting the gym now than ever before, and it's because people are learning from it, you know. It's people used to have this idea that, you know, people would sit there and lift weights, they're just like brainless, deathless creatures, but you learn so much from it, whether it's habitual or, you know, emotional or whatever it could be. There's so many benefits.
Yeah, I also feel like it's kind of necessary for people to hit the gym now because for the most part, I mean, it's debatable, but I feel like life has probably been the easiest it's been ever for people in history. So you got to find some way to, like, do something difficult to, you know, live up to your ancestors.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get it, and, you know, I think health has been something that's been slipping from this generation for a while. And I don't think people realize how much there is, like, the mind and, like, the body connection is so important. If your body's not in the right place, your mind's not going to be, and, you know, if you can't get your mind, your body's not going to be in the right place either, so.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like life is mostly a mental game.
Absolutely.
In everything you do.
Yeah, that's, like, I love stepping out of my comfort zone. That's, like, one of the biggest things that I feel like has separated me, you know, and, like, just in general, from, like, obviously I respect everyone, but, you know, you just have to have a mentality that you're just going to win, and that you just, no matter what it takes. And, you know, I've done so many things, like, for a while I was waking up and doing ice baths before school. It was, like, my morning routine.
That's sick.
And then I'd go biking in the mornings too before school and stuff like that. Just whatever it is, sometimes you just need to convince yourself that even if it's just taking an ice bath in the morning, that really doesn't make you better than another person.
No.
But the mentality that you were able to do that when somebody else didn't, it's crucial.
Yeah. I was listening to, I forget, I think it was, like, Chris Williamson or something. He did a podcast with David Goggins. And I think the question was, like, so what do you do on those days when, you know, the bed is comfortable, you just want to go back to sleep, and it's comfortable, and David Goggins goes, keep talking, and he just, like, keeps, like, mentioning that, and he said, like, a similar thing. He's like, you know, while everyone else is, like, staying in bed and getting weaker, I'm out running and getting stronger. So I don't tend to like compare myself to other people, but I think in that way it can be healthy.
Absolutely.
Like, if you see other people, like, as your competition in that
Yeah.
aspect.
And I think seeing myself lately as my competition has been really important as well, you know. Of course, having other competitors is super, like, motivating and that'll get you going, but also sometimes I push myself too much because I'm comparing myself to other people, you know, and I might not be built for 100-mile weeks like some of those cross-country runners in college, but I might be built for 60, and if I'm running 50 miles this week, you know, the goal is to get to 60 the following week. So, you know, having your goals and to, you know, find that balance is also super important.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of go through different, like, I guess, like, seasons of my life where, like, I'll be, like, super disciplined and, like, very much pushing myself, and then I just won't be, and then I'll just, like, be kind of, like, a little complacent or, like, I don't know, not pushing myself, like, how I should be. So I guess it's just trying to figure out, like, how I can get myself in a rhythm and just, like, keep it consistent throughout.
Yeah, that brings me back to, like, Atomic Habits, where it's like, don't miss that second day. You know, you can miss that first day, it's alright. You know, everybody misses a day once in a while, but don't miss the second day, because that's when that habit and, you know, the routines of things and being in a cycle where you're hyper-focused and, you know, improving yourself, where it just falls apart.
Yeah. So going back to that question about David Goggins, I'm going to propose a similar one. So on those days where you just don't feel like getting up, you don't feel like running, you feel like shit, how do you motivate yourself to go out and get it done?
I always like to think about the opportunities that I have. I think about people that don't have the opportunities that I have, or, you know, when I didn't have the opportunities I had. When I was injured, I would have given anything, and I mean anything, to get out there and run. And I'd hear people complain all the time, oh, I don't want to run today. And, you know, knowing how privileged you are to go fucking kick some ass that day is just, yeah, that's what gets me going. You have a lot more in the tank than you think, you know. I didn't think I could wake up that early for a while.
What time were you waking up?
A lot of days I'd go to the gym at like 4 a.m.
Sure.
Go there, and I'd actually come back and I'd go back to sleep for a little, because I just like needed the recovery.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'd go and work a lot of like 11-hour days that month, and then I wasn't in bed till like 11 usually. But yeah, you can push back like on those feelings. Like, you just have so much more, and I think the statement that we're running on 40% is very, very true.
Yeah. Yeah, what he's talking about is, so when you feel tired and you feel like, you know, you're at your maximum and you want to quit, you've used about 40% of your actual energy, and that there's 60% like in reserves that you can like tap into if you're willing to.
Yep. And that's just, it's all mental, you know? It's, what did they call it? Oh yeah, Goggins called it a governor on your brain, you know? And it is true, you know? We are meant to operate in the easiest way possible, because when we're operating easy, you know, we've been so...
It's a survival instinct. You know,
Exactly.
your mind is programmed to conserve energy, and because it was essential for survival. You know, there were scarce resources. When you're not out fighting for resources, you don't want to be using a lot of energy, and that's what allowed us to evolve to the way we are. So your mind is like evolutionarily programmed to that. So you got to find a way to reprogram your mind.
Like 1,000 years ago, if you were living easy, you're at the top.
Yeah.
If you're living easy today,
At the bottom.
exactly. Change your mindset, you know? You gotta embrace that suck, and I think that's what I love about it. It's like, I love doing shit that people hate, just cause...
Yeah. Me too, honestly.
No, it's seriously, it's the best way to spiral upwards. It's the best way to better yourself, because you not only feel good, but, you know, you're just doing things that...
Yeah. And, like, for me personally, like, you know, your mind's gonna try to play games with you and be like, and think that, like, the easy thing is better, right? Or, like, you're gonna have difficulty be like, oh, do I really want to do this today? But, like, maybe while you're doing the difficult thing, like it's gonna suck and your mind's gonna try to like get out of it and like go crazy, but like at some point, usually like with whatever I'm doing, you feel like a sense of like power, like with yourself, and then afterwards you feel like really good about yourself as well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, self-motivation. I think that's what so many people have a hard time doing, is just like starting. It's this starting.
Yeah.
Which is why, even if you go for 5 minutes to the gym, like, you just gotta get past that starting stage to let that, snowball effect kind of kick in.
Yeah. And I don't know, I feel like also it's a lot about, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about motivation because there's no possible way that every single day you wake up you're going to feel so motivated to do everything that you want to do. There's going to be days where, you got the poopy pants mentality when you feel like a victim or like you don't want to do this thing. And it's about, just that discipline and that commitment to yourself of showing up. And I think, like, for me personally, there's been things I've regretted in my life for sure, but every time I do something, like, to push myself or, like, do the habit that I was trying to, like, build on or, like, do the difficult thing, I've just never regretted it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the number one question I get from people that, like, are seeking advice is, like, how do you do it? How do you stay so consistent and motivated? And it's like, I'm not motivated at all.
Yeah.
To fucking wake up at 4 a.m. and go to the gym. Like, that's not it. It's just, you have to get to a point where you decide that you've had enough and you have to do it. It's no longer motivation. It's you go to that survival and you say, hey, I need to do this. I have to do this no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good mentality to have. Because I think also it's like often glorified, like all those like motivational figures like David Goggins, for example. Everyone's like, oh, you must have been so, you're different, you have like a different mentality, like you're always so motivated, but like they were just willing to say, okay, I don't want to do this today, but I'm still going to do it. And one thing my uncle taught me, he was like in the border patrol for a long time, and he like almost became a Navy SEAL, but I think he was too old or something like that. But you're not always gonna have like an A+ day, so like maybe you're having like a C+ day, but like it's important to make that like the best C+ day you've ever had. So like you're not always gonna feel like the best, you're not always gonna be able to put in your maximum effort, but like go with where you're at and try to exist in that realm, even if you're not having the most energy or you're the most motivated, because, to be honest, in the long run, it doesn't matter what you, like, how you perform on that one day. It matters that you showed up that day for yourself when you weren't feeling good and you play games with your mind.
Yeah, no, those are what makes or breaks you as a person. It's, can you show up when everything is telling you not to show up?
Yeah.
That's just what makes the difference between those who kind of want it and those who really want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish you could teach that. Like, there's so many times in my life that I wish I could teach that. But there's no way of teaching it.
I mean, I feel you can teach it for sure. Like,
but there's no way to teach the drive.
Yeah.
Because you just have to. I think that's what people get stuck on is they look at what is trending or what is like popular and they want to be popular or whatever it is, and they don't do what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
It's passion is so important. If you don't have passion, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm. And I think everyone has that drive within them, no matter how far it is buried down. And it's just about unlocking it, I guess.
Yeah.
And just be okay with not being perfect and progressing slow and just being there for the journey.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at both my mirrors, and my mom's and dad's, you know, I think being honest with yourself is so important too. Like, I don't know, don't sugarcoat things or baby things. Like, I have so much shit on there that's just like, you know, you fucking suck at this, you need to be better at that, you know, and it's not because I want to bash myself, it's just like, you really need to look at things from like an unbiased standpoint. If you really want to better yourself, like sit in a room for an hour and just like, what thing could you change in your life?
Yeah. I think, taking that bird's eye view is important because we often think with our biases and our conditioning of, you know, what we've done in the past, or maybe our negative perceptions about ourselves, but like just doing like an objective like report on yourself, like you would like just imagine yourself as like a scientist and like you're your own experiment and like you're observing yourself and just list it out like that. Because like imagine a scientist being like, this bird is unmotivated, like fat and stupid. You know, like that's just not what they're gonna say. They're gonna be like, okay, this bird is has like this migration pattern, or like I don't know bird terms.
No, exactly, yeah. I think one of like the descriptions that people said, you know, is like if you have like a really hard time taking that bird's eye view, is like take it from somebody else's perspective. If somebody else was to write about you, or like, you know, you were applying for a job and you needed a recommendation, what would they say in their recommendation for you?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, thinking from another person's perspective about who you are, because that's all it is everybody's going to have their perspective on you, but it's how you want to portray yourself to them.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people have self-doubt and negativity, so also realizing like whatever point you're at, like you have like positive things about you and like things that you've done that has been good, even if not everything in your life is sorted out. And I think it's also important to find like a community or like friends that aren't going to sugarcoat it for you, and like if you ask them for feedback, they're going to be honest with like how you're doing, you know. And you don't want to ask feedback from everyone because a lot of people don't know you. They know like something about you, but they don't know everything.
Yeah. I like going off of that. I think friend group is really, really important. You know, I believe that you likely have like one or two really close people in your life that like, you know, that's like the person that you'd ride or die with. And for me, I'd say one of those people is definitely my cousin Matt, who lives next door to me.
Yeah.
You know, we're both just every day is just, okay, what can we do to better ourselves? But looking at your 5 closest people in your life, the odds of you ending up, you know, in their relative ballpark of success and whatever you define success as is likely going to be your story. And you know, that's what people have such a hard time saying no, or just, you know, being blunt and for real. And like, I'm 100%, I like to think of myself as like one of the biggest hardened people, and like I hate myself for that sometimes. But I've learned that I also have to draw my own boundaries in what I want in life. And, you know, I will always be there for somebody if they were knocking at my door and they needed something. But I'm also not going to let them drag and, you know, pull me under. Like, that's just, it's a tough world, and that's just part of the trade-offs that you have to make, you know?
Yeah. I think that's something also I've been trying to work on, like, just sort of, you know, having better friends, or not necessarily better friends, but like friends that like share a similar mentality and like who are striving towards something, not just, you know, just partying and enjoying their life while it is, you know.
Yeah, finding someone that, or people that align to your values is so important.
I think it can be hard to do because, you know, another thing with the comfort zone is like if you've been friends with someone for a long time, like it's gonna be hard to stop hanging out with them as much, even if they don't have like your best interests in mind, or not even that, or like they're just not somebody you want to hang out with as much.
Yeah. No, I'm going through that now personally. You know, it's like it's never easy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, that's part of like that comfort and like, you know, complacency is like there's gonna be relationships and, you know, people that are just as much like a drug or just as much as like sleeping all day, and that's something that you also have to learn to deal with.
Yeah. Also, I think it's like it shows growth on your part if you're thinking about like your friends and how they're influencing you and stuff. Because a lot of times, you know, we just have our friends, and those are our friends, and these are going to be our friends forever, you know, or maybe not forever, but for this time in our life. But like really thinking about like, okay, like, is this someone I want to be surrounding myself with? Because until like probably last year, I didn't realize like how much people you hang out with like actually influence you in like your behavior and how you act. And I think that's crazy. You know, and like Drake said, like I've been losing friends, but gaining peace. You know,
100%. I think you're friends with everybody. You're an enemy to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also something people struggle with. Like if being like a people pleaser and just saying yes to everyone, or like you want to hang out, yeah, sure. Oh, this person want to hang out, yeah, sure. You know, and trying to like have everyone think of you in a good perception. Like, that can be harming because you're not spending the time for yourself. Or how you want to be spending your time. You know, maybe you don't actually even want to be hanging out with these people, but you just keep saying yes because, you know, that's who you are.
Yeah, and like the big thing, I let people like talk their story. Like I was always so big on like trusting words, but you know, I've learned that like actions are super important. You know, with so many like tough like, you know, relationships, there were people that I've had to cut out of my life. You know, obviously, if, you know, they're my friend, I still want them in my life, so I can tell them, look, you know, I want to move in this direction of my life, and I would love for you to move with me if you want to stay in my life, but
you gotta get moving.
Exactly. If you can't do that, that's 100% okay. I'm not gonna love you any less, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like, you're not gonna not be my bro, but you're just not going to be the piece in my life that you were, because I want to go in a direction that you maybe don't want to go, and that's totally okay, you know.
For real. Yeah, and those are difficult conversations to have for sure. Like telling someone that you're friends with, like, you know what, we're gonna draw it back a little bit. But
that's always tough, and it's never not going to be tough, because people, like humans, we're meant to coexist with each other, and we're meant to find connections. You know, I think that's where the majority of our happiness comes from. You know, it's like socially.
Yeah. Well, I think that like that the people who you want to be surrounded with yourself, like they're out there. You just got to be willing to find them, pretty much. Yeah. And that's really just being open to new connections, and just like we were saying, like get to know people. You know, see what they're about, and if they're about something similar, you know, explore that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think wherever you go, like there are people like that. You just have to be willing to try and talk to them.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I think like opportunities and taking them, you know, whether it's going to new school or, you know, going to down south, you know, and just like experiencing new things. Like, yeah, it's gonna be a lot easier knowing that you have friends around here that you can hang out with, but if you're gonna find new things or new people, you really do have to try and expand, and you know, it's gonna be you taking risks, and that's just the way it's gonna be.
Sometimes I'm like, you know, like, wouldn't it be nice just to like, you know, just live an easy life and just, you know, sort of have fun and live for the moment. But whenever I do those things, like, I'm just like miserable, you know. And then whenever I'm pushing myself and doing the things I need to do, like that's when I feel like the most satisfaction and happiness.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know, this is like kind of like, sort of like the life that I need to live too.